if one becomes enamored by the temporary energy and sees the variegatedness there and spends all their time trying to study it, they'll be cheated and misled and waste their human form of life. So, text 10. In his own book, known as Narada Pancharatra, Bhagavan Narada has very vividly described how to work to achieve the ultimate goal of life, devotion. Through knowledge and through execution of mystic yoga system. He has also described the glories of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The great sage Narada instructed the tenets of this transcendental literature to Sarvani Manu in order to teach those inhabitants of Bharatavarsha who strictly follow the principles of Varnashram Dharma how to achieve the devotional service of the Lord. Thus, Narada Muni, along with other inhabitants of Bharatavarsha, always engage in the service of Narayana, and he chants as follows. Okay, so Narada Muni is the chief devotee, Bharatavarsha, in relationship to Narayana, just like Hanuman is the chief devotee in Kimpurusha Varsha, where the Lord is worshipped as Lord Ramachandra. In the spiritual world also, the Vaikuntha planets, where there isn't any, involvement with the material nature at all, there are unlimited planets in the Vaikunthas. And the Lord is situated in different manifestations there also. So, it's unlimited. And this is just here in this material plane. So this is Bharatavarsha, Narada Muni, in his book, Narada Pancharatra. Prabhupada's commentary. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has clearly declared, Bharata Bhumite Haila Manusya Janma Yar, Janma Sartika Kari Karapara Upkar. The real success or fulfillment of the mission of human life can be achieved in India, Bharatavarsha, because in Bharatavarsha the purpose of life and the method for achieving success are evident. People should take advantage of the opportunity afforded by Bharatavarsha, and this is especially so for those who are following the principles of Varnashram Dharma. If we do not take to the principles of Varnashram Dharma by accepting the four social orders, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra, and the four orders of spiritual life, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas, there can be no question of success in life. Unfortunately, because of the influence of Kali Yuga, everything is now being lost. The inhabitants of Bharatavarsha are gradually becoming degraded, lechas and yavanas. How then will they teach others? Therefore, this Krishna consciousness movement has been started not only for the inhabitants of Bharatavarsha, but for all the people of the world, as announced by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is still time, and if the inhabitants of Bharatavarsha take this movement of Krishna consciousness seriously, the entire world will be saved from gliding down to a hellish condition. The Krishna consciousness movement follows the process of Pancharatrika Vidhi and that of Bhagavat Vidhi simultaneously, so that people can take advantage of the movement and make their lives successful. So here Bharatavarsha is referring to India, but at one time India was under the whole world was under the rule of India, and the whole world was Bharatavarsha. Now it has shrunk to that one area, Bharatavarsha. Prabhupada says there's still time. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the late 1800s also was in some of his writing think it was, might have been Krishna Samhita, I don't know, can't remember which one, but he was describing the necessity of Varnashram Dharma system and how the different countries of the world, they have no real way to organize their society properly. It's not, their society isn't organized nicely. It's not scientifically managed for the benefit of everyone, both materially and spiritually. So he was offering a prayer. While he was writing that, he expressed his heart's desire to see that someone would come, they could, a strong ruler would come, they could reinstate Varnashram Dharma, which seems to indicate that India is the place, most likely country to be able to actually reinstate those principles of Varnashram Dharma. And what would be required would be a strong ruler. A qualified person to reinstate Varnashram Dharma. Saying that because when he says Bharata Vars here, he's referring to India. The whole rest of the world is already degraded, but he's talking about India now, that what's left of this Varnashram system has become is being lost. Because of the influence of Kali, it's being lost in Bharata Vars, India. He says the inhabitants of India are gradually becoming lechas and yavanas. How will they teach others? In that same, I think it was Krishna Samhita. Krishna Samhita. At one time, India was actually the teacher for the world. China, those that lived in the area where China is, would come to take instruction in India. India was actually the teachers of other cultures and other societies. And they would come to learn in India. Of course, that was a while ago, like we're talking, thousands of years ago. But we're seeing a resurgence of that. People who are on the path of desiring self-realization, that path takes them to India. They go to India to find teaching and instruction. So India is the center for that on this planet. And it was Prabhupada's desire also that the Indians would revive and shake off these influences of Kali Yuga, these unwanted, unnecessary, very detrimental influences that were coming in, the meat eating, the intoxication, illicit sexual behavior, gambling, all these things. If they would be able to stand off these things, if they saw that Westerners and people from other countries, not just Westerners, but Africans and Russians and different races of the world were taking to Bhagavad Gita and Krishna consciousness, that the Indians would be revived and take up their special task, which is to lead the world. So this is the Krishna consciousness movement. Bhaktisiddhanta very much wanted to see this teachings of Bhagavad Gita, especially in English, because English is a predominant country, during those times, a predominant language. So India, under the guidance of these great devotees, is the teacher of the world. Now all the other Indians just have to get on board and understand their special mission. And part of that special mission, which everyone can take part in, is the Varnashram system. So, there's a lot going on all fronts, but we can see from here the special significance of India and Varnashram Dharma. The Indians need to become inspired to take up and become the living examples of how a government and a country is managed properly, nicely, with advantage for everyone, peaceful and happy and opulent. So, text 11. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Narayan. This is Narada Muni's prayers. The best of all saintly persons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the most self-control and self-realized. He is free from false prestige, and he is the asset of persons who have no material possessions. He is the spiritual master of all Paramahamsas, who are the most exalted human beings. He's the master of the self-realized. Let me offer my repeated obeisances at his lotus feet. So, it says he's the best of all saintly persons, and yet he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Supreme Personality of Godhead doesn't have to perform austerities for self-realization. But he's doing this to teach, to show the way to those who do need to perform austerities, who are not self-realized. He's the spiritual master of all Paramahamsas. He's the master of the self-realized. Krishna is always the greatest, like in the Bhagavad Gita of elephants. I'm Airavata, Lord Indra's famous elephant. Of all the different categories, Krishna says he's the best in all the different categories. So, of all those who perform austerities, Krishna is going to be topmost. No one can outdo him. Lord Chaitanya, when he was manifesting his pastimes as a pandit, no one could outdo him. He was the greatest pandit. So when he appears as Krishna, the most beautiful, attractive personality, no one can be more attractive than Krishna. So he's in all the different categories. He appears as the Matsya, the fish incarnation. He's the most incredible fish. Tortoise, the most incredible boar. The boar, most incredible boar, performing extraordinary feats and activities no ordinary boar could perform, or no ordinary tortoise. When he appears as Lord Ramachandra, extraordinary Kshatriya. So, in all the different categories, he stands out. No one is greater than or equal to the Lord in his different manifestations. There's no commentary there. So we go on to text 12. Narada, the most powerful saintly sage, also worships Narayan by chanting the following mantras. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master of the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this visible cosmic manifestation. Yet, he is completely free from false prestige. Although to the foolish he appears to have accepted a material body like us, he's unaffected by bodily tribulations like hunger, thirst, and fatigue. Although he is the witness who sees everything, his senses are unpolluted by the objects he sees. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that unattached, pure witness of the world, the Supreme Soul, Personality of Godhead. So we get a little more of a view of Krishna's, how Krishna's not involved at all with the material energy. So we say, to the foolish, he appears to have accepted a material body like us. When we accept a material body, we're attached. We're attached to trying to enjoy through our senses and our minds. We have some identification there with the material form and the material senses, the material body. But the Lord is not. He's not attached to a material body or senses. He can appear like that, but he's not attached, just like he can appear in his holy name. He appears in his name, in sound, Krishna. But it's not that he's limited or confined or bewildered by that sound. So he appears in the deity form. He's there to accept service. It's not that he's somehow confined or contained to marble or stone or brass or wood. So similarly, he appeared in a human body. But he's not bound by that. He can use the energies in any way he wants. So he can use the material energy like that for his purpose, which is not sense gratification. His purpose, and he says what his purpose is to give protection to the devotees and annihilate the demons. And when he appears so magnanimously as an incarnation like Lord Chaitanya, he appears to deliver even the demons and bring everyone out of the material entanglement and come back home with him. So it's like he's in disguise. He is unaffected by bodily tribulations like hunger, thirst, and fatigue. Well, of course, he's not identifying with the body. So, although he's the witness who sees everything, his senses are unpolluted by the objects he sees. When we see something, we develop either attachment or repulsion because we measure it in terms of sense enjoyment. So if we see some despicable scene, some nasty scene, then in terms of sense enjoyment, it's repulsive. At least for most people. Depends, how strongly they are in the modes. One man's food is another's poison. But say someone's in the mode of goodness, and they see some nasty carnage or some horrible thing. It's repulsive. And if they see some beautiful flower garden with beautiful birds and trees with nice fruit on them and like this, no, it's attractive. So when they see things, conditioned soul sees things, or hears things, or smells things, or whatever, through the senses, they perceive something. They measure it in terms of personal sense gratification. Is this something I can enjoy, or is this something I want to avoid? In terms of a material body. But Krishna's not doing that. When he sees something, he's neither attracted or repulsed, because he's not involved with the material nature. He's not identifying with the material body. Now that same principle of repulsion and attraction, when conditioned souls, like me, transfer that mechanism to, is this good for Krishna consciousness, or is this going to take me away from Krishna consciousness? It's the same attraction-repulsion. To accept only that which will bring me closer to Krishna, and reject those things which are going to lead me away from Krishna. So that's not based on the material body, because something which might be kind of obnoxious and repulsive to the material body might actually take me to Krishna. Like, say, something that I don't want to do in terms of sense gratification, like it's a little cold out and I don't feel like bathing. But bathing will help me to become clean externally, and chanting will help me to become clean internally. So the body doesn't want to do it. It's kind of cold out. But it will help me in my Krishna consciousness, so I'll do it. And on the other side, there may be something that is a little attractive to eat. Say, you go by one of those pizza parlor windows, and they got this nice vegetarian special pizza. So the senses are saying, go ahead, it's okay, it's all vegetables, it won't hurt you, it's good, go ahead, eat it, enjoy it. But better not. It's food that has been prepared. The consciousness of the people that prepare the food enters into the food. So it's not been prepared necessarily to please the Lord. It's simply been prepared to attract someone so they'll give their money. So better to avoid that. But that would be something nice in terms of, the body. We'd like that. So better to avoid it. It will take me away from Krishna. It will bring me more into the material sense, material senses. But Krishna doesn't struggle with that. Accepting something favorable for Krishna consciousness, rejecting something unfavorable. He's Krishna. He's always conscious. He's fully conscious. He's the controller and maintainer of everything. So his accepting and rejecting is based on devotion. If someone is engaging devotionally in his service, then he's accepting that. But if they're inimical and they're trying to compete with him and cut him out of the picture and ignore him, offend him, then he rejects them. So he's doing that too, but it's based on devotion. So we're all doing it. That makes sense. We're part and parcel of Krishna. We have the same qualities. If we're accepting and rejecting, then Krishna's also accepting and rejecting. He's accepting devotional service. And he's rejecting everything else. So how important is devotional service? Everyone wants to be accepted. Somewhere. So let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that unattached, pure witness of the world, the Supreme Soul, the personality of Godhead. So as devotees are happy to know that he exists. Prabhupada's commentary. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is described as Satchidananda Vigraha, the body of eternity, transcendental bliss, and full knowledge. Now, in this verse, he's more fully described. Krishna is the creator of the entire cosmic manifestation, yet he's unattached to it. If we were to construct a very tall skyscraper, we would be very attached to it. But Krishna is so renounced that although he has created everything, he's not attached to anything. Na bhajate. Furthermore, although Krishna has his transcendental form, Satchidananda Vigraha, he is not disturbed by the bodily necessities of life, which are dahika. For example, he's never hungry, thirsty, or fatigued. Nahanyate deha gato pidahaika. Then again, since everything is Krishna's property, he sees everything and is present everywhere. But because his body is transcendental, he's above vision, the objects of vision, and the process of vision. When we see someone beautiful, we are attracted. The sight of a beautiful woman immediately attracts a man, and the sight of a man attracts a woman. Krishna, however, is transcendental to all these faults. Although he's the seer of everything, he's not afflicted with faulty vision. Therefore, although he is the witness and seer, he's aloof from all affection for the activities he sees. He's always unattached and separate. He is only a witness. Now that's interesting. That sentence, go back and look. Seeing everything is, since everything is Krishna's property, he sees everything and is present everywhere. But because his body is transcendental, he is above vision, the objects of vision, and even the process of vision. So he's not limited to the process of vision through material eyes. That's why I say Krishna is Sakalendriya. All the functions can be done through any part of his body. He can eat through his eyes because he's not limited to a tongue and a mouth like we are. And he can hear through his nose. He doesn't need a dedicated sense organ to perform a function. He's not limited because those are material designations. That's how the conditioned soul relates to the material energy, is through these specific senses and sense objects. But Krishna's not limited like that. So he's perceiving everything, everywhere, all the time, effortlessly. He doesn't need surveillance cameras. He doesn't need to bug telephones. He's perceiving everything. He's fully conscious all the time, everyone and everything. He has no desire to try to enjoy and interact with the material energy, because that's done through material body. He has no, it's not his desire to do that. That is a facility that he has arranged for those expansions of himself who insist on exhibiting their independence from him. It's a field of activity arranged specifically so that those expansions of the Lord, those jiva souls, those living entities, can try to act out their desires to be supremely independent. It's a playground or sandbox for those rebellious souls who are in ignorance. And they get to experience the results of their activities in the form of karma. Life after life, birth after birth, body after body, until consciousness is reinstated. But they are part and parcel of Krishna, never independent, And it's not in the best interest to remain in this field of activity. There's a much better field of activity you can participate in. With the Lord. His devotional energy is far more enjoyable, far more desirable. To approach him that way than to approach him through his external energy, which is actually separated from him. What is it? To try to get milk from the nipples on the neck of a goat. So what kind of plans can you make that's going to get milk to come out of those nipples on the neck of a goat? It's not going to work. So that's trying to enjoy the material energy of the Lord. So that's it for today. Hare Krishna.